Good morning, Gianna.
Hello, Michelle. What's up, honey?
How are you? So good to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
I'm so psyched. I met you through a mutual friend. I saw what you were all about. I've heard you speak in Clubhouse, and I have just been so inspired by you. You are talking about a topic most people are not talking about.
People think we're not talking about it, but I'm talking about it.
And I knew I wanted to bring you to all the women in my life, in my audience, because what you have to share is just so important. So before we dive in, just a little bit about my series for people who are watching. I have created Michelle's Conversations That Matter because I want to elevate the conversation about well-being, about mental health. I want to inspire, educate, motivate people. And I have guests on from all walks of life. So check out my channel and subscribe. And what I do professionally is I work with organizations to bring compassion to the workplace for people with invisible disability. And I also teach resilience tips and COVID fatigue courses and all kinds of things to help employees get engaged in their work and feel good. So that's what I do. But thank you for being here all the way from Florida. Could you introduce yourself, who you are, what you do for a living?
Absolutely. I am Gianna, kind of like Versace. It's an easy way to remember my name. And I call myself the Menopause Master. I live in West Palm Beach, Florida, and I call myself the Menopause Master because I have a mission. And my mission is to help women look and feel sexy and fabulous, getting to the root cause of what ails them. It's not necessarily the menopause, but what's crossing the threshold of the menopause. So that's where we're going to find out what's really making your health miserable. It's not just solely the change in your estrogen and your progesterone. And then my zone of genius is getting to the root cause of the menopause misery so you can fire your doctors and kick the meds to the curb.
Brilliant. Thank you. Tell us why you care. Why is this topic? Why have you zeroed in on this topic? Why do you care so much about this?
No one says, I want to be a menopause mentor or a menopause coach. I like the word mentor better than coach. Well, I think you'll agree, and most women would agree, no one has this conversation. Our mothers had a conversation. Oh, this is what happens when you turn into a woman and you get your period and you need to use these products, and they kind of teach us when that happens. But no one talks about when this winds down, obviously, because we're grown-ups by the time this happens. But my mother, when she was 42, I was 21, and I remember getting a phone call. Your mother went to the hospital for an emergency D&C, which I didn't even know what that was. But of course, when I hear my mother's in the hospital, I go to the hospital, and she had been bleeding for 2 years. Now, why is my mother not getting help for 2 years? I don't know, but a lot of women don't, you know? Yeah. And so whatever was happening finally hit ahead, and she got an emergency D&C, which is basically a hysterectomy. I think she got a full hysterectomy with the uterus and the ovaries, although I don't know those details. And then you get put on HRT, which we really didn't have conversations about. But then as I turned from 40 to 41, I began writing this book about looking good over 40 and for my age. I wanted to expand what I did and get on TV and radio and stages and talk more about looking good over 40 because I was into health, but not to the degree that I am today. And so as I began writing this book, which I never knew how to write a book, so, you know, it's taking a while. And that year, when I went from 40 to 41, I rapidly started to put on weight, where like every week the scale was going up, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Because I really wasn't doing anything differently than I had been doing. And so what do people do? You go to the doctor, you know, what we all do. Oh my God, what's going on? What's wrong with me? What's wrong? And doctors will just, you know, my dog's bark. I'm sorry, let her in. Of course, she's doing this when we're on air. Come on, Boo.
Of course, that's the nature of live TV.
And I sit in front of my patio doors because it's got good sunlight, so that's where she is. So if you go to the doctor and say, I'm fat, I'm sick, and I'm run down, I'm tired, and that's what happened to me. It was more than just not fitting in my clothes, but that's also devastating too. You know, I live in New York City. I was in a very competitive business, and now when I go into the closet, nothing is fitting, and there's nothing more aggravating because you put on a pair of pants and you can't zipper it. What goes through your brain? Like, oh my God, I'm so fat. And that's very derogatory talk, but that's the truth. I'm so fat. I'm a loser. What am I doing? And you always feel something is wrong with you. And so the quick version imagine over the next 4 years, I saw 5 doctors, 3 endocrinologists, the gynecologist, and an internist, and they all do the same thing. Here's prescriptions, eat less and work out more. And I ask you ladies, if you're in this position right now, can you eat less and work out more? No, you're starving and you're tired.
Yeah.
So and when I was 43, I was like, I got a hot flash and I was like, oh my God, like, is this, now we associate menopause with old ladies.
I
like,
know.
you know? And I was only 43 and I'm a childless, unmarried woman. So I have a very young spirit, not that married women don't, but I'm never going to be a grandma on the technical term. So for me, that label is like, oh my God, you know? So I was like, is this the year I turn into an old woman? And I was like, that freaked me out. But when I was like 37, I heard Suzanne Summers on some radio shows. And in my head, I said, oh, when that happens to me, I'll just do what she's doing. It sounds like she knows what she's talking about. So of course, now I'm 43, I get her book. And I read, I don't know which one, but one of the books. And I'm like, oh, I don't agree with any of this. I do not believe intuitively that we require external meds, and BHRT is a med note. You can call it natural. It's still something compounded and created, and it's supposed to take the place of your natural hormones, and it just doesn't make sense to me. But before that, I had that strong opinion. So I look up Body Logic is where you get BHRT. So I had to drive all the way from New York to Philadelphia to go to one, and they do your labs. And so back then labs were like on these big spreadsheets. They're not like they are today with computers, but because that was 11 years ago for me. And so there's this spreadsheet, and you could be from 0 to 500, let's say, and you're here. And I said to the guy said, only my progesterone was low, but you should get on these bioidentical hormones. And I said, well, what will they do for me? I didn't really understand, what does a hormone do? And what could these fake hormones do? Like, I think a hormone is a really serious part of my body. I really mess with, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I'm the only woman who asked this man that question, because I just know I'm very street smart. I read body language. He didn't have an answer. Like a deer in the headlights, he didn't have an answer, and he just sat silent. And well, how much do they cost? $500 a month. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think so. You know, I didn't feel that was the diagnosis, you know?
Okay.
So that was really the catalyst that got me to like really start feverishly researching what they were, because that's all you hear about. And that's what all the doctors do. You need to get on HRT, but you can pull up anything on Google and you can see HRT causes cancer and HRT does not cause cancer. So you have to dig and dig and dig. And I found this one fantastic man. And it's not that I was looking for a man to say, oh, this is the information I want, but it's the information that made sense to me.
Right.
It made common sense. And he had a very strong sentence that I have stolen from him. He's passed away, so I figured it's okay. And it was this Dr. John Lee that said menopause. And if you come across this on Google and you're like me, menopause is the biggest fraud perpetrated on American women in the past 80 years. Now it's 90 years, because that was 10 years ago when I found my, what does he say that? So I started reading everything, and the light bulb went off, and then I just got more into it. And you have to really research. There's studies. Okay, who paid for the study? What were who made the study? So there's a lot to tell, but I'll give you this quick bit to give you the opinion why I not only think it's BS, I agree with this man 100%. It is the biggest fraud. And I think the acts of the medical community is criminal, what they do to women, because there are a lot of women that do get sick. So when they had this study, it's not the original HRT, but there was ERT, and that was back in the 30s, and then that gave a lot of women cancer. But the fact that they knew this drug gave women cancer for many, many years, like 10 to 20 years, the original estrogen replacement therapy, which they said would help eliminate miscarriages, which sounds like they're doing something good. Maybe there was miscarriages in the 30s. I don't know. But it did the opposite. It made babies miscarry, and then it gave the women who took it endometrial cancer, and their offspring, and the offspring of the offspring, and the males too had reproductive issues. So I'm like, Oh my God, that's so
Yeah.
I will put a lot of faith in the FDA because for 30 plus years, they said this was okay. You knew it was bad after the first time someone got cancer, and over 10 million women took that. So then the study to move it into hormone replacement therapy, because now they know there's a market, there's money. There was a study in like 1966 on the island of Puerto Rico. Okay, why? Why Puerto Rico? Why not in the continuous United States? Well, maybe because in 1966, we certainly didn't have communications the way we do now.
Mm-hmm.
People spoke less English in Puerto Rico, I bet, in 1966. So they had 126 women in the study for what became the most recent HRT back in the 60s. 126 women were in the study. 26 of them had adverse reactions and 5 died.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a lot. 5 out of 1,000 is a different portion than 5 out of 126. And I also learned they kind of coerce these women, like, you won't get these benefits if you don't do the study kind of thing. And so we don't really know what went on. But based on that one study, the FDA is like, okay, this stuff is safe. And then they paid this other doctor, whose name escapes me right now, I'm sorry. Well, I can't remember his name, but you can find it. He wrote a book. They paid him the equivalent of like $12 million today, back in 1968. It might have been by then, to write a book called Feminine Forever. Feminine Forever. Like, we're going to be unfeminine. Michelle, do you feel unfeminine?
No.
You're of a certain age that I'm certain you're in perimenopause. I'm 9 years post-menopause. There's not an unfeminine drop of my skin. But they did this propaganda campaign. Here's a book by a doctor. And then they hired these ghostwriters that put articles in all the magazines our mothers read. Red Book, Cosmopolitan, Family Circle, all those things that our mothers read. And the propaganda campaigns begin, and it goes like it does today. And there was a lot of problems. And then there's a lot of, like, you can get these people that say, oh, the women's health study was really only happened because for the first time in the history of I forget the organization, but some big, government organization, they had a woman that was the head of it. And she's like, we need to study women. So they did 250,000 nurses, because they're a good study. They're really not a good study because nurses are very unhealthy because of the hours they keep. Many of them are very metabolically dysfunctional because they work overnight shifts and go against their circadian rhythms. And they stopped the study because too many were sick. But then there's these other places that are like, oh no, the women's health study proved this. So it's very confusing.
Yes, very, very.
And a confused brain shuts down. Yep. And so then many women, and I did it myself, and maybe you did too, and other ladies listening, so you're going to stop looking for the information and do nothing.
Right.
And then in the meantime, you're getting more fat, more sick, and more tired. You don't really know.
And you're watching the scale. I think a lot of us as at a certain age, I mean, we work, like, nothing's changed. We work out, we're eating the same, but yet the scale keeps going up. It keeps going up. And you're just like, but I'm not eating burgers and fries. Like, why is that happening? So talk to us about why that happens and what's the alternative.
Everyone says, eating clean is a very vague term. There's not one modality of nutrition. I am against plant-based and vegan. I was a vegan for 8 years. I thought that was the answer. I never believed the hype that you're going to run out of minerals. I love vegan food, but guess what? You run out of minerals, and minerals are really the key, like to put the key in the ignition of your metabolic health, which consists of your thyroid. Number one, your thyroid runs every cell of your body. It respirates every cell. It runs the 5 major components, your muscles, listen to me, your muscles, your brain, like every major function is thyroid related. So really what's happening is there's just a degradation, a slow degradation by not getting the essential proteins you need every single day. So then, it's like you can put the high quality gas in your car. Like, so you think you're eating clean, but you don't check the tires and you don't change the oil and you don't check the filters. Your car's it'll run, but not as well. So it's a good way I equate how the body works. So when I talk about your metabolic processes, I talk about what's under your hood. So your hood is from here until where the food exits and everything that the food does in between. So from the moment you put food in your mouth and begin crunching it, enzymes start working, and certain vitamins are extracted from there, and then they have jobs to do. They work in clusters. So for the thyroid to work optimally, it needs iodine, B12, and selenium to make it work best. And your body has to be in the pH of between 6.3 and 6.8, and most people are not. Like, so when I begin working with ladies, that's the first thing we're going to do, is do what I call a metabolic health consult for 5 days. We take these measurements of things that I just told you that are really easy. You do them from home. They don't hurt or anything. You just take these readings, and then we look at your symptoms, and I'll look at your food. And that's going to tell me more than any thyroid blood test. Because the blood tests that people, they're programmed. I'll go to the doctor, my blood. There's so many people so many women, like, the doctor says my thyroid's fine. It doesn't give the full broad spectrum of the reading and then the totality. So it all works together. So basically, now you're over 40, you're 45, you're 50, the menopause is creeping in, and you just don't have the optimum nutrition. But the good news is, like, you ate your way there and you eat your way out. All it is turning up the dial on the nutrition. So it's super fun because I like to say you get to eat more and way less. It's not really like a more, but when you're eating, because you're not eating garbage, but when you eat more dense nutrition, you change your cravings, you change your insulin. So the 3 keys to lowering your weight for the menopause: you have to lower your insulin, lower your cortisol, and lower your estrogen. And there are no magic pills that are going to make that happen. It can only happen through food. And for your cortisol, you have to make your life less stressful and more zen. So then we go into that. You have to work on your sleep. You have to make your sleep good. You've got to have your life organized. You can't have children that run wild. You can't be mad at your husband all the time. So there's a lot of things you have to do to create that Zen life. And you have to do it because your future depends on it.
It's amazing. I'm going to pop up your books because I want people to know that you are a 3-time author. Tell us about these books. My goodness. And look at the before and after of the first book. So you lost what? You
lost 40 pounds. And the one thing that when I say, the first book is called Why American Women Are So Fat, Sick, Tired, and Angry, because of what I discovered with this doctor, that medical menopause treatment is the biggest fraud perpetrated on American women. We are being lied to. We're being lied to about low-fat food. No. Low-fat food and calorie counting, and just work out more. Can anybody work out more? No. I'm sorry, this dog is being a pain. So go ahead. We're being lied to about the food. We're being lied to about medications, because here's the next thing that happens is, you go to the doctor because we trust the doctors. We put these doctors in their white coats up on pedestals, and they give you a prescription, and you think it's going to do something, and then it does nothing. And then I believe that women think, oh my God, it didn't work for me. We feel more broken than we felt the day we got the prescription. Right. And the prescriptions are really just only for symptoms. And then recently I came across a woman that by just her menu got off 24 prescriptions. And she said, she's like in her 40s, and she'd been on them since her 20s. And she said 12 of the prescriptions were for symptoms, and the other 12 were for the symptoms of the prescriptions, and that's what happens. It's a cascading, terrible domino effect, and it doesn't get to the root cause. And another gal I'm working with, she pays a functional medicine doctor $150 a month. He's a concierge doctor, and he never gets to the root cause. It's always, he thinks he is, but they're not. So some do and some don't. It's not like a one size fits all. It just depends on how much that doctor's personal interest is in getting to it. So when ladies say to me, oh, Gianna, you weren't that fat, I find that very insulting, because how fat should I be for you to pay attention and to value my experience? That picture was taken on a Razor flip phone. And I remember the day I took that picture, because I had such hope, and I didn't even know what I knew yet to really get skinny yet, but kind of what a lot of women do. We look to these fitness models, and I did enter a fitness contest. That was the beginning, but I was still too fat, and I came in number 13 out of 13, but I said I was going to do it, so I did it. But I took that picture for the before picture, and I remember being mortified taking that picture, because as you can just see, my life is drained out. I'm looking at the picture on my desk here. The life was drained out of me, being in a bikini, feeling horrible. I asked my best friend to take this picture because I wouldn't have my boyfriend do it, And I just said, someday I'm going to need this picture. This picture is good. I'm going to have an after someday. And I want to give everyone hope that that could happen, because now I'm 54. That picture was 41. And I never dreamed that I could look fit. Like a man said to me the other day, you look like you can move your own furniture, which, I mean, I know he's flirting. I thought it was very cute, because I do look fit. And who thought you could look fit at 54? And
you don't even look 54.
Yeah. I get
vitality.
I have gray hair. You're just never going to see it, you know?
Yeah.
No offense, I'm not one of those gals. But the reason, the original question was, what's my passion about it? It's more than the bikini, because here's two things that I talk about greatly. The greatest demographic getting a divorce, it's called gray divorce, are people over 50. How many regular American people have more money after divorce? Not really. It's going to affect your life. And I know a gal that's getting divorced at 52, and it's really going to hurt her. She says, I just can't do it. I can't stand him. But you really have to think about, you're dividing assets. And the greatest demographic declaring bankruptcy are women in their 70s. So you have to be strong. Your health has to be strong. Whatever you do for work has to be strong. There's age discrimination in the workplace now. Maybe you've been a stay-at-home woman, and after you get divorced, you might have to work, and you're going to have to present yourself as energetic and lovely and full. And it just, you have to be strong. So for me, the muscles, and I'm not a fitness model, and I'm not trying to be one, but I need to be strong. I need to be able to walk upstairs. I need to be able to chase my dog. I like to ride a bike. I like mobility. And if I don't have that, that scares me to death.
Sure.
I couldn't take care of myself, or I have to walk with a walker or something. Yeah. And then I believe this over 70s demographic is being hurt by the 50s divorce. And I like to say menopause is the greatest threat to not only your health, but your marriage or relationship, your family, because then you're going to have children from broken homes. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to go to Easter in 2 different houses and have all these new step people in their lives. And it's the biggest threat to your future. Now, it's not your fault because you didn't know this information. Every woman's going to have a menopause that still has all her parts, and you're the only one who can do something about it.
So before, and that's great insight. And yeah, I totally can see what you're saying. It is honestly like such an important aspect of our midlife. So before we went on the air, we were talking about gut health, and we have Dale. Dale is here. She says you're speaking her language. We talked about gut health, and we talked about cravings. Give us some insight into that. You were sharing about shifting what you crave for.
Right. Well, everything I know is like, I wanted to go to naturopath school. Honestly, I want that doctor title for my ego and to shove it down my brother's throat that I became a doctor. But then as I had these naturopath mentors, and they're not all like this, you have to really find somebody that very specifically, like there's really unhealthy naturopaths, you know? So I have 3 wonderful mentors in my life. And I talked to this one for a couple of years. And whenever we would speak, I'm like taking notes. This man is so brilliant, and he's in his 70s. And 2 of my mentors are in their 70s, and they still do Ironman triathlons. And I think that's very impressive, you know? So it just goes to show you the muscles and the protein is really important. And then there's another one he's like really the leading gut health expert in the world. And so I had him on my podcast too. So everything I know is just because I'm regurgitating what they told me, and it makes sense. And then I use their products, and then they work. So when you're not processing your food, so a lot of the overweight issues, and one of my really good friends just figured out her food transit time is poor. So for so long, she's had constipation. I'm sorry, we talk about these kind of things. The food isn't moving. So then it's stuck in your intestines, are like, I don't know how long, but we know they're super long. Maybe your lady watching knows, but the food is fermenting in there, and fermentation creates gases. And then there's a nerve that goes from your gut up to your brain called the vagus nerve, and the gases travel up, and the gases permeate your brain, and then it intercepts your synapses. And so when we have brain fog and the forgetfulness and the instability, anxiety, depression, all that, like, of course, there are some people that have serious depression, but chronic depression, if you were coming to me, I would say, we're going to look at your gut health. We're going to look at your menu, and let's start there before we start putting petrol chemicals on your brain that are going to operate on your central nervous system. So once I started to figure out all this stuff and became as smart as I am today, when my boyfriend killed himself when I was 34, so obviously that's very upsetting. I started to get really bad hormonal acne. My mother had hormonal acne all her life. So as I was always a slim person with good skin, I never even had acne as a kid. But now I'm getting it in my 30s. I went to a woman's doctor, a women's medical center, and what do? Take this low dose antibiotic. Okay, you take it for however long, I don't remember. But then when it was done, the pimples come back. Now I'm in New York. I'm in the beauty business. I have to feel like I look good. I have to feel comfortable. And I've got all these red cystic pimples. So I'm like, I need the prescription. I need it because I don't know any better. I was on that for 9 years straight. And I'm sure that antibiotics, birth control, stress, poor eating kills your good gut health. So now I have bad gut health. And I think that really just happened at the time. Now I'm putting on this weight because my gut health is so bad. It's not processing my food. So a lot of it's the lack of digestion. And so you may not be eating bad foods, like fattening foods, like you're not eating donuts, but what you are eating isn't getting to work. As I started to say earlier, all these clusters of vitamins and enzymes start going to work in different areas of your body. Like I'm a physiology nerd. I don't expect everyone to be that way, but as I desired to learn this, I'm memorizing this stuff that I would have never cared about when I was in high school or college, but now I like it because I just really like knowing how it all works. So really it's all about, there's a just degradation of the processes and the gut health. So here's what I like to say, which I think your friend will like that's watching. First thing you have to do is assess the gut health. And that is like, something's wrong in the gut health. So if they say, I want to lose weight, Gianna, okay, we're going to go look at your gut health first. And almost everybody has a problem if you're struggling to lose weight. I like to say that's like, we're sending in the firefighters to put out the fire of whatever's going on down there. So that will be, there's some products that I use to they kill only the bad gut health, not the good. And like, how do they do that? So I learned how that happens. And it happens like the good gut health has like a film, like a milky film around it that protects it from these products that kill the bad gut health, and then it sweeps it out. Then we want to send in the probiotics, and those are like the paramedics are coming in now to repair. Pardon?
No, I know all about the probiotics.
So they're going to start to repair, and there's prebiotics, it can get a little complex. So you've got to repair that first. And then we'll look at your menu, we'll look at the symptoms you have. So one of the big soapboxes I stand on is that the top 5 symptoms of menopause problems and thyroid issues and Hashimoto's are all the same.
Really?
And yes, the top 5 are the same. And one of them might be that you're selenium deficient. That means you have hair loss, you have low energy. These are all Hashimoto's, gut problems. I don't have them like memorized right in front of me right now, but maybe you just are low in selenium. But if you go to a doctor with those 5 symptoms, I guarantee you they're going to put you on hormone replacement therapy, Synthroid, Wellbutrin, maybe phentermine, like the more prescriptions they write, like it's crazy, when maybe you just need selenium. And the thyroid works in conjunction, like with the 3, B12, selenium, and iodine. Iodine pulls toxins out of you. So a lot of it, your fat cells are just little toxin suitcases. So the more you can get the toxins out, and it's not overnight, but like I'm surprised even I have less cellulite than I used to. I'm not going to sit here and say my body's perfect, but it's pretty damn good. And I even have less cellulite than I used to. Like who could even think that would happen? But it's just a little pocket. So the more you can do this, and it doesn't mean that you're starving eating rabbit food. It's quite the opposite.
Right.
You get more dense nutrition so it can go to work.
Oh my goodness, you're giving us a wealth of information.
I could talk all 8 hours and never shut up.
So I think you're proof that it is possible to have the body of our dreams. I think a lot of us in midlife get resigned because we try the same thing and we get the same results.
Right.
And so what you're sharing with us is sort of like a beacon of hope, right? And it is possible. So I guess what are some things people can do now? obviously they can reach out to you and they can work with you, but what if they can't? Like, what are some
actionable steps to take now? You're not going to like number one, but I'm
okay, let's do it. What is it?
Quit drinking coffee.
Oh no.
Well, let me tell you about coffee. I really freaked out a girl that contacted me and she had uterine fibroids. And I said, watch this video. Do you drink coffee? She said, yeah, I have a couple a day. And I show her my coffee videos on YouTube and my Instagram. Coffee indirectly is a cause of hysterectomies. I'll tell you why. So you drink coffee, you start drinking coffee, maybe late teens, early 20s, college, whatever, and you drink it every day. It's very yummy. It's soothing. It's very much an emotional, something that we do. I look at my email. But I have tea now, or I have bone broth, instead of coffee. Coffee is a drug. It's the most abused legal drug in the entire world. Coffee every day grates on your central nervous system. And so your central nervous system alerts your adrenals. And so that's like, a bad guy comes upon your car, you're getting in the car at the grocery store and you see that you know what it feels like to have your adrenaline shoot up. Well, that's what coffee's making happen on a daily basis. And you're going to get used to it more and more and more, which means you need more of the drug. You need more of the drug. I can't drink coffee. To me, it feels like I did cocaine. I'm like speedy and crazy and I don't like it. So I never got into coffee. The first time I drank coffee, I went home sick from work. I didn't like it. I was 18 years old. And then I drink the coffee. I feel this way. Okay, so I don't drink coffee. But I have had coffee and I do enjoy it, but I'm not drinking it daily. But it's every single day. So as your central nervous system is grated upon, your adrenals are being overtaxed and overworked. Now, when your ovaries shut down because your body knows you're running out of eggs, the adrenals are the natural system that Mother Nature created. They're going to turn up the dials to give you the amount of estrogen and progesterone that your body still needs for other functions that estrogen does. You just don't need it for reproduction anymore. So, but it also, now the failure of the adrenals, they work in conjunction with the thyroid. The thyroid controls your menses. Now they're messed up. It's a slow degradation of progression. Now that's messed up and you are not releasing your cycle 100%. And there's clusters that are remaining behind and those cells end up turning into fibroids. Now you got fibroids, you got problems, you have a painful period. Perhaps that's why my mother was bleeding, for 2 years, because my mother drank coffee and Sweet and Low every day. Like I couldn't, Sweet and Low so bad for you. And I think she still does it to this day. So now you're going to go to the doctor because you've got some problems with your cycle, you're in pain. And the doctor's been trained. You've got fibroids. We're going to take out your uterus. Well, did he get rid of the fibroids? He sure did. But what else happened? It's the dog. I'm sorry. Get out. Get out.
I love it.
So sorry.
That's okay.
And then she'll just bark until I do it.
Hey, hang on. Let me just say real quick. I want people to share this. If you have a woman in your life that you care about, Gianna's dropping some serious wisdom here. So please take a second to share this with people that you care about, guys. All right, carry on.
I'm very unwavering in my opinions. I will sit with any medical doctor on a stage, and I could go into that too, because I was in an event one day and I could not believe what was coming out of the OBGYN's mouth. But so we'll finish up with the coffee. So now they're taking out your uterus and, I don't need my uterus, but I think you need everything. Whatever God gave you, you're supposed to have your parts. But if you do take out the ovaries, it does upset things. And even dogs, after they get spayed, they put on a little bit of weight. And I guarantee you, the doctors are never sitting down having this conversation with ladies, because then there's always problems. So indirectly, your coffee is causing the hysterectomies. And then when I read this book, which I don't believe every book, but I have critical thinking skills. There's a book that talks about every year there's 500 to 700,000 women in the United States get hysterectomies. 90% of them are unnecessary because they're not cancer. If you have cancer, of course, make that decision. But how about now fibroids can turn into cancer, but how about you try to dissipate fibroids? Fibroids are just a buildup of toxins, which you can do by changing your menu and detoxing and doing things like that.
Wow.
Let's try that first,
Yeah. I love it. You're giving us back some control. not control that I really like. Susan is here. My friend Susan is like, she's not very happy about the coffee. I'm not very happy about the coffee. I have to tell you.
Try it for 90 days. I have a 13-minute podcast where all I'm doing is reading women's testimonials after they quit coffee. They get rid of anxiety, depression, they sleep better. It's acidic, so it upsets your stomach, and tell you when you find out what your body pH is, that tells you. So, and these are if you have a low pH, that's the precursor to fibromyalgia, lupus, all kinds of autoimmune disorders, which people are programmed to think. There's a lot of people that think you've got this disorder, you've got this label now, you can't do anything about it. And I would think it would make you feel defective. Like this one friend of mine who was diagnosed with MS, when I met her, she walked with a cane. It was like 7 or 8 years ago. And I'm like, my God, this woman's so young. She's like 36 or 37. She's walking with a cane. And we ended up becoming friends. And she ended up staying with me between apartments. So we became really good friends and shared our story and stuff. And here's what goes on. This is why I call it criminal. The pharmaceutical runs everything, especially with, we won't even get into the vaccines today, but everything's about pharmaceutical is the highest spending lobby on Washington, D.C. Then they spend double what the second spending lobbyist does. So she's like, Gianna, I have a free dinner at Maggiano's on the Las Vegas Strip. I said, oh, how do you get that? Because I like Maggiano's, And she said, well, this drug company is putting it on. They invite people with MS. So we go to it because I'm dying to know what they do and what they say is I'm already the beginning stage of not digging the medical community, but I wasn't as strong in my convictions as I am now. So we go to a room and there's about 50 people in a private room at Maggiano's. Every single one of them was in a wheelchair. And the drug company will pay for this dinner, which was a 3-course dinner, because they're giving a presentation on a $5,000 a month drug, which their insurance companies are going to pay for. And these were people in those wheelchairs where they can move themselves, not push ones. That's how advanced their MS is. And I'm looking at my friend that I now care about. I'm like, is this your future? Is this what happens? Because I didn't know. And she's like, it's not happening to me. And even though we didn't know then what we know now, we just were so sure that we were going to figure it out. So I've driven her to a lot of doctor's appointments. Sometimes it was very active and I've taken her to the emergency room. And I pick up what they say. She's like, Gianna, they're just guessing. They don't know. And a lot of it is, I don't mean to cuss, that they're throwing shit out the wall. Then since she's been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which she may not have had the MS.
Oh, wow.
She has $100,000 in doctor bills. And now when she got diagnosed with the Hashimoto's, at least there was, okay, now I can look at this. And that's how she ended up looking more deeply and more deeply in getting tests. And this is just like stool tests and gut bacteria tests. You can get a protein aminos test. And guess what? You can do all these from home. You don't even need a doctor. And I cannot say, legally, I cannot say, oh, don't do this, but you can, because who's reading what the lab is, and it's much cheaper too. And I have all these tests on my website where you can get them. If you don't end up losing weight, we're going to keep looking. So calories are in the light, hormones and problems are in the dark. So because she kept looking and got more tests, she believes she got a stool test and she got, I don't remember the specific test, but then they figured out you are low on this particular bacteria in your gut. We began the conversation about. Then they figured out she has a low food transit time. So in just 2 weeks, since she figured that out, she's lost 12 pounds. And now she's going to the bathroom regularly, which she has not done via her own body, without the help of enemas and things, to help make the stuff move out. And she's like, Gianna, we can talk SHIT, right? And I thought she meant like gossiping about someone. And I said, yeah, of course, who? And she's like, no, she's so excited because when toxins are moving out of you, where you get your energy back, it's the whole, digestion is the most arduous process your body can do. Now, relating that to menopause, as you're going through your perimenopause until you get to that time, the way hormones get released from your body is through your colon. They have to get processed through your liver and then into your colon. So if your liver's clogged and your colon's clogged, they're getting stuck into the toxins. And, we won't know what we're talking about. It's gross. But then they get permeated through the intestinal lining and they take a few more spins. Hello, hot flashes.
Yeah.
They're taking more spins. And then I think this is one of your questions that you were telling me you're going to answer. What can we do? So here's the biggest problem you see in menopause groups. Every woman does this. Does anyone else have this? Insert horrible symptoms. And I don't know, it just never occurred to me to ask other people. I didn't really care. I just wanted to fix me. But okay, you'd want to think that you're not alone and maybe you're normal. But just because 50,000 other women have it doesn't make it normal. And then they say this, what can I take for this? Insert horrible menopause symptoms. So let's say I have hot flashes. Oh, do I have something for hot flashes? I do. But does that mean it's going to get rid of your hot flashes? No, because it's also the rest of the totality of your health. Yeah. Metabolic profile is where you have to find it. And unless and until you change the menu and turn up the dial on your nutrition, you can take all the products in the world that you're wasting your money on. It doesn't mean it's going to work. And the third thing, I had 3 things about, the ladies. So here's the third thing I see too. There are women, and they make me crazy. I'm going to be honest. They go, seriously, a lady wrote this in a menopause group. She has dry lips. Is that menopause? Then they think every malaise, which there's a lot over 40, because now you're starting to break down if you don't take care of yourself, that every malaise is menopause.
Yeah.
And they can't do anything about it. And there's a lot of times I will be in these groups. I can't go in other people's groups and be like, buy my stuff, read my books, whatever. But I will drop nutrition bombs because morally, I feel if I can save someone's life, I have that knowledge, I have to let them know. So sometimes there are some really serious questions. So I'll say something and then you're just trying to sell your stuff. I don't care what they say. These things don't matter to me, but that's what they say. Like, okay, should I not try to save your life? I have women that say, if you look at the testimonials on my website, Gianna, you changed my life. Gianna, you saved my life.
Yeah, tell us about some of those. Tell us about how you work with people, how you work with ladies, and tell us about some of the impact that you've had and how that's made you feel.
I didn't even know it was going to be this way. Honestly, when it first happened, I just thought, oh my God, I solved this problem for myself. I didn't even dream it would be like a way to make a living. But since there's just so many that need it and I did it, I just started sharing. And then slowly I just composed, like, first there was the book and I was like, oh, it can become a course. And then so for a long time, I wanted to, like, if I could wave a magic wand, I want the ladies to join my course and take the metabolic profile, and then we'll see where your nutrition needs to have the dial turned up. But mostly it's the same. And then I'm like, then there's ladies who are like, they want products, they want products, they want products. And so an opportunity opened up like 8 months ago where a very good friend of mine, he bought into a supplement company. And he's like, 2 years ago though. And this last summer, he's like, Gianna, we have these menopause products, maybe you want to do something with them. I'm like, and it took you 2 years to tell me? I'm like, sure, let's see what's going on. So that's when me and my friend went over to Tampa because I want to see them. I want to see the facility. I don't want just anything. I'm not doing it just to have my name on something. But the person they were developed for was an Oriental naturopath. And then she had a book. And so they gave me her book and I talked with the formulator for hours about the products, and they're very specific. They're very carefully crafted, and then everything she was about aligns with what I'm about. And they own them. She doesn't do it anymore, so they were available for me to take over. So I did. I changed the book and changed the labels. So there's 5 products now. I've got a 6th one on the way. So I have my products, and then there's other products. Everything that I talk about, I personally still use.
Okay.
And some people are like, oh, there's so many products, but do you want to be on meds and pay hospital bills, or do you want to spend money on products and look good and feel good and have a longer life because of it? So now what I have decided to do to meet everybody halfway is I created what I call the Menopause Weight Loss Rescue Kit, because don't you want to be rescued from your misery? So these are the questions that I get asked. So here's the kit in a box. It's literally all the questions are in the box. Like, how Gianna, what was it in a box? Well, the one thing ladies say to me is, why are you against HRT? All those answers are right here. Got a lot of lighting. This is the first book, Why American Women Are So Fat, Sick, Tired, and Angry. This book is going to talk about what I call the fraud of medical menopause protocol. And then they're like, Gianna, how can I lose weight in menopause? Well, there's the Menopause Weight Loss Masterclass, but it's a very thin book with big print. I know that your attention span is short because we've got the fermented gases in the brain causing, I know, it's, it's like a bathtub read. I'm going to kill this dog. She will have to get locked in the crate next time I go on Facebook. So then, Gianna, what am I doing wrong? This book, it's a tiny, tiny guide. 10 stupid things women do to create menopause misery. This is going to literally tell you how the hormones work, because the hormones work like a feedback loop. Like, okay, so say we'll just take insulin, for instance. So you eat food and insulin starts to get released from your pancreas. So it gets sent out. Your pancreas knows to stop sending insulin when the feedback loop has returned. This is how people become insulin resistant. If that process is blocked, which it's blocked by toxins, that the insulin's not getting into the, say this is a cell, but it's got toxins blocking it. Here comes the insulin, it's not reaching it. So doesn't have the come back. So what does the pancreas do? Releases more and more and more. Now you're insulin resistant because the cells aren't reacting to it. And it's all the hormones are like that. So how can you medically recreate a feedback loop? And honestly, my mother was on HRT for 15 years. 15 years. So from 42 to 57. Then like 2 years ago, I said to her, are you still taking HRT? She says, no, I quit that. I said, well, did you ask your doctor? She says, no, I just decided to stop taking it. And I said, well, did you feel anything? She goes, nothing. Nothing. Didn't feel any different. So that's something to think about. So then you're like, so here's another question I get. Gianna, what can I take for this menopause supplement guide?
Okay.
This is everything that I use and I sell in a step-by-step guide. Step 1. Now this does include the metabolic profile. So here's where you start taking your readings and you record them. And then you take a picture on your phone and you email it to me, and you filled out your health consult. And I take all that information and I give you a very thorough, high-level naturopath taught, my guy that taught it to me, who said, Gianna, don't go to school. I can teach you so much more. His protocol is my protocol, and I didn't have to go to school for it. I read all his books and I can get him on my speed dial. And then, Gianna, what should I eat for menopause? Of course, there's a food guide with pictures, and most of them are easy to figure out. It's not like complex recipes. So you get all the guides.
Or people can follow you and see what you're eating, which is what I've been doing.
Right. I'm very simple in my food. And then everything is included in the box. This is all the stuff. And it works. And it's also including, I like natural skincare, and the same thing that helps your gut, helps your skin be beautiful. The less chemicals, because our ovaries are really super sensitive to chemicals. It's more sensitive than you can imagine. So much of the menopause misery is really endotoxins and exotoxins. So I don't give up my nail polish, but I use Bare Minerals, and I use a soap that's made out of oils, natural safflower and sunflower oil. It costs $13 and it lasts me over a year because I keep it in a nice ceramic thing. I just use it for my face at night, and I don't need to wash my face in the day because it didn't get dirty while I'm sleeping. So once a night I wash it, and I keep this nice non-chemical soap, and then I put my silver gel on top of it because it's going to kill bacteria and yeast can get in your creases. And so I'm doing something good for my skin. It's helped. You can use this for anything though, your kids, pets, if your pet burns a paw. There's tons of uses for this. And even now that we're in the age of COVID, this is so much better than the disinfectants, the sanitizers. The sanitizers really, the FDA, like in the last couple of years, made them eliminate all these chemicals because they don't really do what they say they're going to do. This kills over 600 types of bacteria, and it's not harming your skin. So
amazing.
That's enough, Gianna, today.
That is a lot of information. We do have a question Susan asked, and I remember I have pH strips that I use in my mouth. So she's asking, how do we check our pH? Is
that somebody that's, I know? Oh, it's wonderful. You should check your pH in the morning in your first urine. You just take the strip and you got to hold it in your stream. And of course, you wash your hands. And I'll tell you a funny story. When I told my mother to do this, she writes to me, like I tell her, do your saliva and your urine. She goes, should I use a different strip? Yes, use a different strip.
Please. Yeah, but they're small. Yeah,
use a different strip and just put it in your mouth for like 5 seconds. And what they do is have There's this one. I have a more, I don't want to open that because that's, somebody, this will be sold to somebody. This one that I have on my website has 10 different parameters. Let me put my glasses on to tell you this. It'd be better to look in my guide because it's bigger. This one, listen to what this one checks, because you can check all this stuff without the doctors trying to sell you crap. And it's just so much more efficient. The 10 parameters, let me find it in my book here. Checks you can do all this. Your urine tells so much. Your leukocytes, that's your white blood cells. Your nitrites, you can tell if there's a urinary tract infection. Glucose, the way they test for diabetes, and you can monitor yourself regularly. So you take the strip and you match it up. And I have them in my book because I don't want you to go through I did it all for you. I looked up, you just hold it up and match the colors, and the colors will tell you how serious it is. It does your pH, but this strip, I don't want you to put in your mouth because it's a little bit yucky. There are strips that are specific. Test your protein, test for kidney function. When this marker is alerting, it means that protein is in your urine, and to look for why it's happening. That's a sign that you're not digesting everything properly. Then it tests for ketones, which I'm not a keto person. I might have some things that are keto-ish, but I'm not one of those strict keto people. I think keto is bad for menopause ladies. For instance, I did fast for 7 days once, and I did it under the supervision of a radiologist friend. And I was too much in ketosis where I was feeling short of breath. And I was like, and that scared me. And he said, you're too much in ketosis. So if you are doing keto, you can check yourself these ways. And then there's a thing called specific gravity that these things check. And that checks to see your water balance versus your urine concentration. And so it can tell you specific gravity testing is helpful it could tell you if you're going to have heart failure, shock, diabetes, kidney failure, kidney infection, urinary tract infection, low sodium, and tons of things. And you don't have to go to the doctor. So,
thank you.
All right, this rescue kit is going to tell you how to take care of yourself for the rest of your life, that you will know long before you have chronic illness, before it happens. Are there more questions? I love questions.
You're awesome. No, it's just, how do people want to reach out to you? We're going to wrap up now. They can reach out to you through your website, which is at the bottom of the screen. Yeah. Any other way?
JiannaMiceli.com. My text number is on there. If you give me your email, the next email you get is my phone number. You can text me. I send out a couple of really good nuggets. I'm always, every week, I never stop searching. Like, it is literally my job, because I know you all have different jobs, but my job is to bring you the most up-to-date, all-natural menopause information. So I'm on tons of newsletters and doctor things. And I'll tell you real quick before we wrap up. When I went to this menopause event in New York City before I moved to Florida, because I moved to Florida because of COVID, I was like really excited to go to this event. There's 100 ladies in the audience and this panel on stage, and they have this OBGYN who is overweight. I mean, not obese, but very much overweight, not someone I'm going to turn to, hey, I want to look like you. And, there's people in the process of losing weight, which is admirable. But this lady also talked about her chin hair, which would be hormonal imbalance, and losing her hair up here. And a lot of ladies, the hair loss is not natural, and you can do something about it. It is not a natural sign of aging. And please stop accepting being tired and losing hair as it's thyroid. It's all thyroid. You might be missing vitamin C, and that's why you're not as not athletic, but we run, we walk upstairs. Maybe you can't get upstairs. You might not be getting old. You might just need vitamin C. There's always reasons. So the books all tell about this stuff. But there were people in the audience that had a lot of questions about menopause. And here's what she had to say. Well, what we want to do, me and the AMA and the FDA, her masters, of slavery, I call it medical enslavement. We want to put you on birth control until you're 55 and then swing you into HRT. Why would you want to trick the menopause? Because the menopause symptoms are really chronic illness, different levels. As I've told you today, you can figure that out. And I was just like, I'd like to speak. On me. And here she is, a woman that's clearly metabolically not healthy, and she's giving advice. And I could just see people were not happy with her answers because she gave no answers. One thing,
Gianna, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
birth control and the HRT will disrupt how you digest health. That there's now like an industry called psychological gut health, because they're realizing how much the drugs affect how you absorb nutrition. Then I'll shut up. I'm all done.
No. I just want to thank you. I really want to thank you, because I feel like you've given us a lot of empowerment through this conversation. People can realize, start to reflect on what they're doing, not feel bad or wrong, not feel broken, not feel resigned. So you've really given us some valuable information, and I just really want to thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always super fun to talk about what I know.
And we thought we were going to talk for 30 minutes, and look at it.
What do we do? I don't know.
It's like 55 minutes.
Oh, really? Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
But I'm so grateful. So grateful for this information. And I look forward to following you. People can reach out to you. And thank you for what you're doing for women across.
Thank you, Michelle. You too. This is a very good topic, because the gut health is very much related to mental illness and the invisible illness that you talk about. Well,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gianna. Take care. Have a great weekend.